Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Ben. Honestly, finding out that your partner, someone you built your whole life with, has been cheating on you for God knows how long. It's a pain I wouldn't wish on anyone. The worst part? It was happening right under my nose. Right in the middle of our normal, everyday life. In one instant, my reality split into two parts, before I knew and after. And I've been living in that after ever since. But here's the full story. After college, I landed a job at a mid-sized tech company that was decent enough to pay the bills and give me a sense of direction. At first, it felt like I was doing the right thing, but deep down, I knew that world wasn't for me. I'm not the corporate type. I didn't care about quarterly reports or impressing people in meetings. I wanted something quieter. So, not long after Lillian and I got married and started having kids, I made the leap and walked away from tech. I transitioned into writing, freelance at first, then gradually building up clients and projects until I could call it a real career. It didn't pay a lot in the beginning, but it gave me what I needed most: time. Time to be home, time to raise my kids, time to actually live life, not just watch it pass me by from behind a desk. Lillian, on the other hand, has always been ambitious in a way I honestly admired. She was already working at a big law firm when we met, and she stayed there after we got married. Her work was intense, constant motion, depositions, out-of-town client meetings, lobbying efforts for big business interests. Some weeks she was here, other weeks she was hopping between states. She was always in a suit, always in a rush, always balancing deadlines and court appearances like she was holding the weight of 5 people's jobs. But she promised me early on that it wouldn't always be this way. She said the travel, the late nights, the missed birthdays, they were temporary. That once she'd establish herself, once the firm recognized her value, she'd pull back and focus more on us. I believed and supported her. To me, every sacrifice we were making now was for a better future down the road. I tried to be understanding, even when she didn't come home on the nights she said she would. One Tuesday evening, I was in the kitchen, and the kids were upstairs finishing homework. Lillian walked through the front door, looking drained. She didn't even take off her heels or sit down before she started talking. She told me she'd just been selected to work on a major case, one that required her to travel out of state. Said it was happening in Chicago, and that she'd be leaving the very next day. I asked her what kind of case it was and why the notice was so sudden. She said the firm had been considering a few people for the role, but at the last minute, they picked her to be second chair on the trial because of her specialty. Apparently, her experience lined up perfectly with the kind of arguments they'd be making. She claimed she tried to get out of it, that she told them the timing wasn't great and she had a family, but according to her, they insisted. She made it sound like it was an honor to be chosen, something that could push her career even further. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't frustrated. It was short notice, and she'd been traveling a lot already. The kids missed her. I missed her. But at the same time, this was her dream, being a high-level attorney, getting handed big cases, working on complex trials. I remembered how she used to talk about this kind of opportunity back when we first got married. So, I pushed my feelings down and told her I understood. I told her to go and give it her best shot. She promised she'd call and FaceTime with us whenever she had a break. She added that she would be home on Saturday, which was her birthday. I nodded and said okay, even though I am not okay. I wanted to believe in her. The next morning, she was up early, dragging her suitcase down the stairs while the kids were still asleep. I helped her load her things into the taxi. Before she left, she kissed me and said, "I'll text you when I land." A few hours later, she did. She messaged me saying she had landed safely in Chicago and that she was heading to the hotel. Later that evening, during a FaceTime call with the kids, she casually mentioned the name of the hotel she was staying in and even gave us a room number. She said it was for security, in case we needed to reach her quickly. At that point, I honestly felt proud of her. She looked tired, but happy, and it felt like all the sacrifices she'd made were starting to pay off. I didn't know it then, but that call, that little moment of reassurance, would be the beginning of the most painful revelation of my life. By Friday evening, I had already started getting things ready for Lillian's return. The next day, Saturday, was her birthday, and we had plans. I'd already gotten the kids to make cards, and we were going to bake a cake together in the morning. I even bought her favorite bottle of red wine. I was actually looking forward to having her home the next day. So when my phone buzzed and I saw her name, I smiled and picked it up thinking maybe she was checking in before bed. It was a text. She said the case had taken a sudden turn. Something unexpected came up, and now she wouldn't be coming home on Saturday like she originally planned. Instead, she'd have to stay through the new week. She told me she was sorry, said she missed us, and promised she'd make it up to us when she got back. I stared at the message for a while. I knew this was part of her job. Big cases can be unpredictable, especially when you're second chair and expected to adjust to whatever the lead attorney needs. Still, this wasn't just any weekend. It was her birthday. Later that night, while sitting on the couch thinking about everything, I realized that I missed my wife. We hadn't had much time like that lately. Her schedule had been brutal for months. Over the years, with all the traveling we used to do before things got busy, I had built up enough travel points to cover a few domestic flights. I logged into the portal and checked. Sure enough, I had more than enough for 3 round-trip tickets. I started wondering, why not take the kids and go surprise her? What if, instead of waiting for her to come home, I went to her on her birthday? I called the kids downstairs and sat them at the dining table. Hey, I said, how would you guys feel about surprising Mom on her birthday? What if we flew out to see her this weekend? Their eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. My daughter jumped up and clapped, and my son just kept repeating, "For real? For real." That was all the confirmation I needed. I got on the phone and booked the flight for the next morning. I made sure to get us a room in the same hotel Lillian was staying at. Since she told us her room number, I picked a room on the same floor, just a few doors down. Close enough to pull off the surprise, but far enough not to feel like we were invading. That night, the kids couldn't stop talking about how happy Mom would be when she saw us. We landed around noon the next day. The flight was smooth. The kids were in high spirits, laughing and guessing what Mom's reaction would be when she saw us. We got a cab straight to the hotel. We checked into our room. We barely unpacked. Everyone was buzzing with excitement, so we didn't waste time. We left our things, freshened up quickly, and made our way to her room. As we stood outside her door, I could feel my heart racing. I had this big goofy smile on my face, thinking I was about to create one of those sweet family moments we talk about years down the line. I knocked twice. We waited. Then the door creaked open. It wasn't Lillian who opened the door. It was a man, half-dressed, shirtless. He looked confused, like he was expecting room service and not a man standing there with 2 kids. Before I could even process it, Lillian stepped into view, behind him, wrapped in a towel. Her eyes widened when she saw us. She froze for a second, then panic. Her whole face changed. She looked like a kid who just got caught stealing from a candy jar. But this was no small mistake. My kids just stood there. They didn't understand what they were seeing, but they knew something was wrong. I didn't even say anything. I just grabbed them gently, turned around, and walked away. I heard her calling my name, but I didn't stop. My thoughts were spinning. All I could think was, how long? How many times? She chased after us, calling out, "Ben, please, it's not what it looks like." But I couldn't even look at her. I didn't trust myself to speak without exploding. When I finally did look at her, I asked, "Is this what you do whenever you're out of town?" My voice cracked. I was heartbroken. She broke down crying, standing there in the hallway in a towel, begging me to forgive her. But I wasn't hearing it. I couldn't. There's a kind of pain that goes beyond words, and I was right in the middle of it. When we got back to our hotel room, the kids were full of questions. I could barely shut the door behind us before they started firing them at me. "Dad, who was that man? Why was he in Mom's room? Why did she look so scared?" I didn't have the strength to answer. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor while they kept looking at me, waiting. Their faces were so innocent, confused, and hurt. But how do you explain something like that to children? How do you tell your own kids that the woman they call mom has been lying to all of us? I couldn't. I just told them to rest a bit. I needed time to think, needed space to breathe. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Lillian was calling back to back. Then came the texts. Where are you? Please talk to me. Tell me what room you're in. She even tried using the hotel phone to reach the room. I didn't answer. I didn't respond. What was the point? I sat there for a long while, then realized that there was no reason for us to stay another second in that hotel. Whatever I thought this trip would be, it wasn't. I turned to them and said, grab your things. We're going home tonight. They looked at me confused, hurt even, but they didn't argue. Kids may not fully understand, but they feel things. And they knew something was very, very wrong. At the airport, I kept looking out the window, watching the planes land and take off. On the flight back home, I kept staring out the window as the city lights disappeared beneath us. All I could think about was how everything I believed in had collapsed. Somewhere over the clouds, I came to a quiet, painful conclusion that I didn't say out loud but kept repeating in my head. This marriage is over. Whatever we were, whatever I thought we had, died in that hotel hallway. On Monday morning, I didn't wait around for any more apologies or fake explanations. I got the kids ready for school, and after dropping them off, I went straight to the office of a divorce lawyer I'd researched the night before. When I finally sat down with the lawyer, I told him everything and how I needed to protect my kids from more confusion and hurt. I didn't care about revenge or making her life hell. I just wanted peace. He listened, nodded, and then started putting things in motion. Papers were drawn up that same day. By the time Lillian flew back midweek, probably rehearsing whatever half-truth she was planning to tell me, she walked into a stack of divorce papers sitting on bed in our bedroom. I wasn't home when she arrived. I didn't want to see her. She called me that afternoon, but I let it ring. I had already told my lawyer to handle any communication from now on. The divorce itself was brutal. Anyone who says otherwise has either never been through one or is lying. We argued through lawyers for months. What made it worse was the kids' custody. Who gets what? Where they would live? How holidays would work? It's a kind of stuff that forces you to see the other person for who they really are when their mask comes off. Because Lillian traveled so often for work, and her schedule was all over the place, the court eventually ruled that she couldn't provide the kind of stable, consistent environment the kids needed. It wasn't even me trying to twist the truth. That was just the reality. I had been the one home with them. I knew their teachers, their schedules, their routines. She didn't even know what cereal they liked. So, I got full custody. The kids stayed with me, and she was granted scheduled visitation. Now, because she made a lot more money than me, being a senior attorney at a big firm and all, the court ordered her to pay child support. On top of that, she was told to pay alimony. I didn't even ask for that part, but my lawyer pushed for it to make sure I could afford everything the kids needed without constantly struggling. She hated that. Hated every bit of it. Lillian was furious when the judgment came down. She called me, yelling through the phone, telling me I stole the kids from her, that she was going to fight this and take me back to court. I let her say what she had to say. Then I told her flat, do your worst. Because the truth was on my side. The facts were there. Now that everything has happened, I've had time to sit with the truth. And it's painful, more painful than I expected. I think back on my marriage, and I realize how much of it I thought was peaceful. I thought love was enough. I thought being present, being faithful, and being supportive meant we were solid. But I was wrong. I was living in a bubble that I didn't even know was floating on lies. The peace I felt? It wasn't real, it was ignorance. And that's the part that stings the most. I wasn't just betrayed by her. I was betrayed by my own belief in what we had. Finding out that Lillian had been cheating on me all along, it broke something in me. It made me question everything. Not just about her, but about myself. About how I could have missed the signs. About how I gave so much grace, thinking she was just busy, just tired, just chasing her dream. And maybe she was. But she was also lying. And I guess I was too trusting. That's not easy to admit, but it's the truth. If there's anything I've taken from this, it's three things. The first is that trust is everything. You can love someone deeply, you can sacrifice for them, you can build a life around them. But if trust isn't there, none of it matters. Love doesn't survive without trust. Second, you have to value yourself. I lost sight of that. I kept trying to make Lillian happy, kept trying to understand her choices, kept giving and giving, even when it felt like I was running on empty. I told myself it was what a good husband does. But a good husband doesn't mean a silent one. You can love someone without letting yourself get erased in the process. And the third thing? Actions speak louder than words. Always. People will say anything, tell you they love you, that they're tired, that they're loyal. But if their actions don't match their words, then you have your answer. I learned the hard way that listening to words while ignoring actions is a fast road to heartbreak. Don't make that mistake. So now I want to hear from you. What do you think? What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have stayed? Would you have confronted her differently? I know some people think they'd handle it better or faster. Maybe you would. But when you're inside it, when it's your marriage, your kids, your life, it's never that simple. If this story made you think or reminded you of something you've been through or what someone close to you is going through, please share it with them. It might help more than you know. Like the video if you found it worth your time, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.